Silent Hill 3 is a survival horror game developed by Team Silent and is a direct sequel to the first game. The story follows Heather, the teenage daughter of the original protagonist Harry Mason, who gets pulled into a sinister plot by a cult that are trying to birth an evil god. The game received positive reviews, and riding on the success of all 3 installments, Team Silent were confident that fans wanted more, and released a 4th game only a year later. In this video, I've managed to put together as many Easter eggs, references, and any other points of interests that I could find. And if you do enjoy this, then subscribe, that way you can stay up to date on all future videos I put up. Now it's time once again to return to the town of Silent Hill. On the first playthrough, Heather starts out in a dream sequence within Lakeside Amusement Park. The intro cutscene briefly shows a top-down view of the teacup ride that, when paused, reveals a familiar looking symbol. This is called the Halo of the Sun, and it belongs to a cult known as the Order, or to the player. It's used throughout the game as a saving point. Whether this is just a coincidence, or it's named after the amusement park in the US, there is a place called Lakeside Amusement Park, found in Denver, Colorado. If Heather is killed before she makes it to the roller coaster tracks, the game won't end, as it is only a dream sequence. She'll awaken in the diner instead, and the player can continue the story. Not only this, but the starting event is also similar to what happens at the beginning of the first game, where Harry awakens in a diner after getting killed in a dream sequence. In the shopping mall restroom, if you inspect the mirrors, Heather will have a negative reaction to them, and most locations in the game where there ought to be mirrors are either covered up or missing. As the town of Silent Hill manifests one's own fears or dreams into a reality, Heather finally confronts hers later in the hospital segment as an optional room that the player can enter, and you can see what happens. In various places within the mall are posters showing the words "Turn Ale." This means another land in Welsh, or otherworld if you prefer, and is appropriately used here, as the game series often switches between 2 worlds. There's even a poster in this shop with the same words read backwards that shows that other place where Heather will soon enter. There are other posters around the mall that references Silent Hill 2. One found in an employee corridor shows several characters, such as Angela Orozco and James Sunderland. And another can be found in the magazine shop that shows Maria. The actor Norman Reedus, who was meant to be the protagonist of the cancelled game Silent Hill PT, made an uncanny appearance in this game. Amongst the magazines in this shop is one that's titled Cool, and the front cover shows a young Reedus in the movie Gossip. After the first meeting with Claudia, if you take a closer look at the names on the door before going to the elevator, you'll not only see Nirnael again, but words connected to Norse mythology. Yggdrasil is the world tree that connects other realms to each other. And Nornen may be referencing the 3 Norns, who each represent the past, present and future, which is also what the 3 inner circles represent within the Order's symbol. It would seem then that this is all a warning to the player that they're about to be transported to another world. If you have a save file from Silent Hill 2, ideally a game complete save, then you can see all references to the game, starting with a unique cutscene in the women's restroom of Heather refusing to stick her hand down a toilet.
Ugh, no. Forget it. This is way too gross. Who would even think of doing something so disgusting?
Checking the mail in her apartment building, Heather alludes to the letter James carried with him. In Heaven's Night, there's a poster found on the stage that refers to Maria. And on the hospital rooftop, inspect the fence and fans will recall the event with Pyramid Head. Inspecting the cubicle by the window, Heather will knock on the door and get a response from someone inside, but the door only opens once she walks away. On the second floor of the mall, there's a TV showing static, but looking at the screen, you may hear and even see a girl appear for a second. When paused at the right moment, you can see that it's Cheryl, or rather Heather as a child. This is taken from the first game, when Harry enters the shopping centre and sees his daughter on a set of televisions. After returning to the normal world, Heather will pass by a number of shops. One of them, called Newsboy, appears to be homaging the classic video game Pac-Man. Inside the ticket booth of the subway station, there's a framed picture showing James's first encounter with the monsters in Silent Hill 2. One train line is heading for St. Renata College and is appropriately named for Heather, as it derives from the Latin word renatus, meaning born again, or rebirth, and reminds us of what Heather is, a reincarnation of two half-souls, Cheryl Mason and Alessa Gillespie. One inspiration for the games is the movie Jacob's Ladder, and like the film protagonist, Heather is trying to get home on the Bergen Street line. An optional cutscene will happen on Platform 4, only if the player reads the newspaper article on the ticket kiosk. It isn't required to continue with the game, and can be easily missed, but it will trigger an event that will force players to act quickly. After examining it, and going to Platform 4, Heather will be pushed onto the tracks. She then has to climb back onto the platform before the incoming train kills her. On the train home, you can find something strange occurring if you go through the rear door. Nothing seems amiss the first time this is done, but after entering each train car and trying to return to the last one, they'll have vanished. And once the train stops, Heather can even react to the missing train driver if she examines the front door. Once you're in the first tunnel of the underpass, a rare occurrence happens here only on the second playthrough. The passage will transform into a dark and visceral tunnel. And also the water in the sewers change, as it takes on a more bloody look to it. Also on the second playthrough, an even stranger event will happen, even for a Silent Hill game. When Heather is in the chamber where she has to throw the hairdryer into the water, you're given the option to throw in the steel pipe. Doing so will trigger the appearance of the sewer fairy, who will give you a series of questions to test the player's honesty. Get them right, and you'll receive the gold and silver pipes. After reaching the top floor of the construction site, there's a part of the wall that can be opened by hitting it enough times to reveal a pair of legs and a silencer to collect. The popular theory is that it's based on Metal Gear Solid, which is another Konami game, but this seems unlikely, as Heather mentions with regret about watching The Black Cat, which is a horror movie based on Edgar Allan Poe's short story, where the main character eventually walls his wife up to die. An optional room that can be missed in the Hilltop Center is the mannequin storage room, where another disturbing event will happen if you go and investigate. Outside the Gallery of Fine Arts is a curious image showing a red block. This could be referencing a similar thing used by players as a saving point in the previous game. To further support this, inside the exhibit room, there's a framed picture showing strange patterns, titled Repressor of Memories, and looks similar to the hazy pattern found on the save screen in front of James, who himself throughout the game was repressing memories of his dead wife. In one of the corridors of the other world, there's a wheelchair seen beyond a glass panel. This image was inspired by the film poster, Session 9, which is a psychological horror movie set in a mental health hospital. Like the two previous games, Silent Hill 3 also has a UFO ending once you unlock the Heather Beam special ability and use it to kill over 30 monsters before reaching the Daisy Villa apartments. You can end the game with this special cutscene that shows Harry Mason is still alive and James Sunderland makes a cameo appearance. On the wall of the living room is a framed picture drawn by Heather when she was younger. What's interesting about it is it offers a different insight into her mind that isn't created and twisted into something horrific by the dark magics of Silent Hill, but a simple drawing done by two girls, Alessa's desire for a normal family upbringing and Cheryl's dream of growing up with her adoptive mother who she lost as an infant. On returning to the streets of Silent Hill, if you head over to the front doors of Pete's Bolorama, you'll see a bunch of stickers. One has the name McAdams. This may be named after the art director Mike McAdams, who was involved with the HD collection. Over the road at the Texon gas station, there's a couple of news racks that show the name Konami. Keeping Heather still for a short time will put her in an idle position, but that's not the only one she does. By keeping her waiting for longer than 5 minutes, and with her back towards the camera, she'll do a unique idle animation. While exploring Brookhaven Hospital, you'll find at least one of these love letters written by Stanley Coleman, with a doll next to the notes. There are 8 of them to find, and though it's not necessary to read them, as it's more of a creepy side story, it does add to the tension that Heather is being followed everywhere, and what makes it worse is returning to each of these locations, the notes as well as the doll disappear. In room S1 on the 3rd floor, there's an SH Times magazine on the bed. On a closer look at the cover, there's an image of Maria on the top right hand corner. Reading the magazine itself, it mentions the orphanage Hope House and a round concrete tower prison, which will become levels in Silent Hill for the room. And the writer of the article, Joseph Schreiber, was the former occupant of room 302, which will play a central part in the whole game. After the long ladder climb to enter the Otherworld Hospital, if you're quick enough, you'll see the monster Valtiel, who's in the background throughout the game, dragging a nurse away. Back at the amusement park, the Borley Haunted Mansion you have to enter is named after the Borley Rectory in England that was said to be one of the most haunted houses in England in the early 1900s. Before continuing on after meeting with Douglas, you can see another cutscene if you return to him. Like the Silent Hill 2 save reference, there are a couple of old save locations from the first game, found at the ice cream stand, and later in Alessa's bedroom, and you can even read what Harry Mason wrote. In the final part of the game, Heather starts out within this chapel, which is inspired by a real location called the Sacred Heart Cathedral in Yokohama, Japan. Apart from the obvious locations seen from the original game, there are some other smaller details you can find in the rooms, such as a report you can read that was written by Kay Gordon, whose name was on the key Harry used to progress toward the Balkan Church. And Cheryl's sketchbook, found on the bed that has the tarot puzzle clue inside, looks like the same one found in the alleyway at the start of the game. The Konami cheat code, which is a popular code used in many of their games, can be used after completing Silent Hill 3, then highlighting extra new game on the main menu before entering the code. You'll hear a woman's voice
Sexy.
to confirm that it's been activated. Then during the next playthrough, you can watch every cutscene with Douglas in his underwear. Hey everyone, thanks for watching the video and I hope you enjoyed it. Up next I'll be doing Metal Gear Solid 2, and now that I have a PS3 again, I can do the whole MGS collection in HD. So if you haven't yet and you want to see more content like this, then subscribe so that you can stay up to date on all future videos I put up. And as always, thanks to all of you who have subscribed and are helping to make this channel grow. So until the next video, bye everyone.